So if there's one criticism that a lot of people have for Lightbringer, and that I feel is fairly valid, is that the magic system's never super thoroughly explained, and it can be confusing getting into it, especially in the first book. So what I thought would be a good video for me to do real quick is to walk you guys through how the Lightbringer magic system works in a very simplistic way, completely spoiler free, and even if you haven't read the series, and this is just a cool new magic system for you to begin to understand. So starting off, the source of this magic is light. Everyday light you see in the world. People draft that light into themselves and then can pull from the light spectrum to create different colors. Certain people can only access certain colors on the light spectrum. For example, some people can only draft green. They can then change this green into a hard armor-like substance, and it has an emotional effect on them as well. Almost every color has a pairing like this, some kind of emotional response and an effect. They're all very different. For example, certain colors are going to be more rubbery, others are going to be more sticky liquid tar substance, and some drafting just allows people to do very alternative things, but I can't get into that without spoilers. So basically, people pull in light from around them and physically manifest it in different ways, and depending on the person, they pull different colors from that light spectrum. They're very limited though on how much they can pull in, because throughout your lifetime, there's a finite set amount, and if you exceed that, your halo in your eye breaks. Basically, this thing. What happens is that color, whichever you draft in, pours in throughout the rest of your eye and is no longer only focused into the iris. Once the halo is broken, it's pretty much said that drafters will go insane or somehow become changed in a very negative way. There is one person who has no limit on how much they can draft and can draft every color across the spectrum, and that is the Prism. That is our main character. He is this godlike being who essentially can wield infinite magic however he chooses, and this makes him stand above all other magic users by an absurd amount. So this creates the dynamic that there are other magic users, some that can pull from multiple, like 3 or 4 or 5, but there's only one Prism who can access all the colors available to him and create all kinds of fantastical creations, completely limitless, and just obliterate entire armies if he wants to by just unleashing hell. These magic users don't really have physical advantages aside from their magic use though. They don't have longer life like Aes Sedai from the Wheel of Time. They aren't angelic people like from Lord of the Rings. They're just magic users who have kind of a leg up on the rest because of their use of magic. This is an incredibly physical magic system, meaning those who draft aren't your typical wizards who stand back. If you're going to be a fighter and you draft, you're more like a warrior monk. They use weapons, they use swords, they use guns, because muskets exist in the Lightbringer world to a great extent. It basically just enhances their ability to fight. Being able to create armor around yourself or shoot a wave of a color to seal someone or overall enhance yourself through whatever ability that Luxon happens to give you is just a really cool thing. It is somewhat common throughout society, but most people can't draft, and those who can draft multiple colors are very rare, and they are usually given higher positions. 2 or 3 is rare, 4 or 5 is incredibly rare, 6 is almost unheard of, and 7 is literally the god of the society. Head of the society, or the Prism, can only ever exist 1 per generation, and they're always taken out in increments of 7 years. So maybe one will only last 7 years, maybe they'll last 21 years, and no one really knows why, but that's the mystery this series begins to explore. Let's give an example here to make it super simple. Let's say we have a standard character here who drafts green. This person can then create armor around themselves using this green Luxon and become physically stronger. And if they do it a lot, it's called going green golem, which you don't really want to do many times because it requires a lot of green Luxon and you'll likely burst your halo. Now, because this person drafts green, they're associated with a certain personality. Think of it like their star sign. You know, I hate astrology, but it works here. Now, green is, well, it's pretty hard. It's also flexible. That's why it makes great armor. And this person's going to be kind of associated with the emotions that come with that green drafting. And now let's compare that to another character we have who drafts red, and only red. Now, red's going to have the same emotional stuff you think of as red. They're going to be quick to anger and all that stuff. But red Luxon is not solid and bendable like the green Luxon is. It's actually almost purely liquid and extremely sticky. It's more like a tar substance. It's also hyper flammable, meaning that red drafters often just cause massive fires as they're drafting attack. Meanwhile, green drafters protect themselves in this very hard to penetrate armor and go attack massive groups of enemy with no real fear of taking damage. That's really how the Lightbringer magic system works. Pretty straightforward. It's just not explained super well at the beginning of the series. The author wanted it to kind of naturally unfurl for the readers, I think, and he just didn't accomplish that as well as he could have. But it's a great magic system, very different than almost anything else that's out there in fantasy, and it results in these kind of warrior magic users that are so much fun to follow. I hope you guys have liked the video. Those of you who have read Lightbringer and those of you who haven't, it's just a cool thing to learn about. So like and subscribe if you have not already. Go ahead and hit the Patreon if you'd like to support the channel. I hope you guys are having a great day. Peace.